as the anchor men. They'll be finishing in the 10th frame. Johnny Petraglia up for a shot, second frame.
So a lot of TV sets on in New Jersey today, pulling for this Hall of Famer, huh?
Oh, you bet. And there's the fast double. Strike from Mosayebi, strike from Petraglia. Early lead after 2 frames, up by 21 pins.
Ajima now, after Mika left the first open. Understands a lot more English than he likes to let on. Very personable, good sense of humor. Also here with his translator, Sam.
Having the same problem that his partner had. Ball hooked early onto the nose, the 4, the 6, and the 7. And both the shots to Mikel looked a little tentative. They didn't get aggressive enough at the bottom of the swing. That's why the ball hooked up high, leaving the splits.
Marshall, kind of interesting watching in warm-ups. I mean, a lot of the bowlers actually were sore. I mean, their hands were very tender, huh?
Well, there's a lot of games that are bowled leading up to the televised finals, and the thumb and the fingers take a lot of friction coming out of the ball, so it takes a while for them to get loosed up.
Mika now. He left the 4-6 in the first, so they're down by 32.
Much more aggressive delivery. Really projected the ball well out of the lane. What they're trying to do is get the ball to read the mid lane. Want the ball to go down and then hook in the mid lane and be fairly calm in the back end.
For a triple for the team now, Mosayebi.
Now, ball left of his target immediately. Never really gave it a chance. He leaves the 3 and the 9. And he knows he's just made an errant shot. Mosayebi's using a particle ball with a pin 4 inches from his axis, 5 inches from the CG. Wants a smooth roll. He's changed to a spare ball. Won't hook as much and makes a great spare.
So for Mark and Petraglia, strike, strike, and spare. 2 open for Mika and Yajima, then the strike. Now Petraglia, they are up by 30. "14 PBA national titles, 10 regional titles. Johnny Petraglia and Mark Mosayebi off to a fast start, but it's early. We're live in Reno. PBA Hall of Famer Marshall Holman. There's the start. Match number 1, a slow start for the Finn and the Japanese. Yajima now in the 4th.
A chance to cut into that lead, working on a strike. Strike here, they could make it just a 20-pin lead. It's still early in the match.
And he makes the strike there. The 55-year-old from Tokyo practices about 6-7 games a day, 7 days a week. Good work ethic. Now, we talked about Mika being a hockey goalie. I asked him how big he was when he played goalie back when he was about 11, 12 years old, and he just laughed. He said, too big. But what about his long reach? Is that a help?
Well, it is in his game of bowling. Now, he didn't project that ball down the lane, but got away with it. Crossed over for a Brooklyn. That reach that I was talking about, that really helps him to project the ball down the lane. That time he cut it off, was tentative. But in bowling, there are some good breaks to be had. That's certainly one of them. They're just down by 10.
3 strikes and a spare. The spare in the 3rd frame. Mark Mosayebi now.
That's high. Good shot in the 1st frame. Mosayebi has made a ball change. But in his delivery, he got his elbow out to the right. We call that chicken winging the shot. Didn't get the good projection down the lane. And he leaves the 3-10. And a lot of times after one player gets a good break, like Pba Miemi with that Brooklyn, it gets in the mind of the opposition.
Pretty good in team events, Mark is as well. He won that World Team Challenge back in '94.
Makes a great conversion of the 3-10 split. Just trying to fit the ball in between the 3 and the 10. Textbook, beautifully done. Petraglia has yet to miss on lane 25. That ball down early. It crosses over.
Speaking of the lanes, Marshall, how do the players choose those lanes?
Well, what they do in this type of format, both the players practice on both lanes to start out the first 10 or 15 minutes. Then they find out what lane they feel more comfortable on and concentrate the last 45 minutes of practice on that individual lane. They should be locked in by now.
Just that lone 5-pin for Johnny.
And after an open start for Mika and Junichi, a strike here in the 6th frame, and they could take the lead.
And a beauty.
Really taking advantage of the good breaks. A profile view of Yajima, shoulder high backswing, very smooth. We call that style a stroker. He's not a power player. He won't overpower the lanes. Certainly getting the job done as Mika now up on 25 to take that lead even further.
Bowled a 300 game last year at the Indianapolis Open. Mika from Finland, Yajima from Japan. They were down early, but they go out with an 11-pin lead after 6.5 frames. Another look, a beauty by the Finn, the ex-hockey player. We're live in Reno.
As you can see, we got an 11-pin lead for Koivuniemi and Yajima, and it's just amazing how they started out with those 2 splits. They righted the ship, got the good break from Mika when he threw the crossover strike, and now they're in control. The ball that Mosayebi changed to is a little smoother reacting particle ball. Won't have that hard finish in the back end. And he hangs on him, leaving the 2 and the 4.
Out of Charlotte, North Carolina, the 31-year-old. Take a look at his form.
Mosayebi struggling a little bit. He also pretty well shoulder high. Got a great knee bend, which really is the hallmark of his game. Good projection down the lane. Got that sliding foot perpendicular to the foul line. Shooting at the 2 and the 4. Should have no problem with the spare.
Good follow through, and like so many in the field here in Reno, one of his hobbies is golf. Look how close.
Look how close he comes to the channel. He's hooking the ball at the 2 and the 4. A lot of players would just go very straight from deeper inside for the spare, but he chose to hook.
Hall of Famer Johnny Petraglia. Speaking of hooks, from way downtown.
You bet. Coming from the left-hand side, both the right-handers and lefties starting the ball on the very far side of the lane. Ball starts around the 6 board, excuse me. Hooks back into the pocket. 4-pin takes care of the 7. Petraglia giving his team a chance.
What a comeback, though, by this team. After 1 and 2 were open, 5 consecutive strikes.
And it can quickly change. The 4 and the 6 remain.
I think the head pin got bumped head on, didn't it?
Well, it did. And you can see his ball was left off of his hand. It starts hooking mid-lane. The 7-pin falls late, but it's really immaterial. The split is there, and it should relate into an open frame. Just taking the count with the straight ball.
In his off time, Yajima spends a lot of time coaching, works with kids back in Japan. Has a 13-year-old son who hopefully watches on ESPN International every once in a while. Now Mika.
Now trailing by a pin. Interesting. It seems when one teammate makes a bad shot, the other one comes back and makes a tentative shot as well. And the momentum shifts in this first game have been very dramatic. First couple frames for the Koivuniemi Yajima team, a couple of open frames. Then they strung 5 strikes in a row. Open in the 8th frame, and now a difficult spare for Mika here in the 9th. The 3, 6, and 10. Yeah, he converts. But Jim, to me, this is the shot of the game right here for Mosayebi. He's been struggling on this right-hand lane the last 3 shots. Petraglia in very good form on lane 25. Needs to smooth things out, needs to trust himself to make the shot, let the ball roll up into the pocket. They could really put him away.
And if they strike out, 235, the best that Mark and Johnny can do.
Now, not only doesn't he strike, but he leaves a very difficult 3, 6, 9, and 10. Must fit the ball in between the 3 and the 6. Very important to have enough on the ball to get that 9 pin out. This ball simply left off his hand, just too high on the head pin. Another tentative shot from Mosayebi. It's very easy to do when you're not sure of what the lanes are doing and what your ball, how your ball may react. You have a tendency not to give that full release and to be just a little bit cautious. To keep the lead. No. Chops off the 10 pin. Ball had to go between the 3 and the 6, take out the 9. He gets too much of the 3 pin, and the 10 pin remains.
And when you walk back, that's when you can't look at your partner.
Well, and you know, he feels terrible, and Johnny knows he must strike out to shoot 203 to put pressure on Mika and Junichi. And Petraglia really has done everything in his power to win this game. It looks like it was a good idea for them to have John finishing. Great finishing position for Petraglia. Ball coming in strong from the left-hand side. Solid in the 1-2 pocket. 7 pin, the last one to fall.
Elected into the PBA Hall of Fame back in 1982. Don't mess with this man, because when he's not bowling or playing golf, he's an expert in martial arts. So the double. Look at the hello. A little English, thank you very much.
And Johnny gets revved up. Very excitable player. Strike here for 203 would force the Koivu Yamajima team to fill 20 in the 10th frame to win. Stop. Big mistake. Did not project the ball down the lane. He leaves the 2 and the 4. It's a 201 game for Petraglia and Mosayebi. Did not project the ball down the lane. Never got far enough to the left at any point. Goes through the heart. Fortunate just to leave the 2 and the 4. Trust me, that 7 pin does fall. He knows it's a bad shot, just hoping for a good break. What have I done?
After leaving the 8th open now, Yajima
needs to fill 18. That'll be the winner right there.
And high fives from Mika K.
Well, good reason to get excited for Mika and Yajima. Ball breaking in. Watch the 5 pin as it drives the pins out to the left. Yajima, not a power player, but that angle, he gets into the pocket with the bowling ball that he's using. Strong ball. Shoves those pins around pretty good. 8 or more on this ball, and it's all over.
Oh.
And that would be 8.
What a comeback after they left the 4-6 in the first, and Yajima left the 4-6-7 in the second. Then they ran off 5 strikes in a row. The 8th was open. So they take match 1 after a slow start. Over the Hall of Famer Johnny Petraglia and Mark Mosayebi.
Well, Koivu and Yajima 204, Mosayebi Petraglia 201, and they'll continue on. They'll bowl against Hall of Famer Brian Voss and the senior player Ron Winger.
In this format, when you look at maybe momentum after a comeback like that, what kind of loss? Brian, 42 years of age, out of Atlanta, and Ron is 59 years young from Tarzana, California. Couple of televised events where this man, Ron Winger, owns some 300 games. Won against Jimmy Certain in the championship match in Wilkes-Barre a couple of years back. You got the feeling, Marshall, talking to Ron yesterday, as you and I did, that he's just happy to be in the finals. A little bit nervous, but looking for some TV time and a little help from his partner, Brian. Huh?
Well, he certainly is a little bit nervous. And he's got a great partner, Brian Voss, multi-time champion on the PBA Tour, member of the PBA Hall of Fame. And Ron Winger, style a little bit different, doesn't project the ball down the lane a long way, sort of short strokes the ball, but it's been very successful for a number of years.
And one of his goals is to be the PBA Senior Player of the Year. After the warm-up, I think a little trouble resetting the machines.
Yeah, having problems. I'm not sure if it's one lane or the other or both right now, but they're figuring things out back there. The mechanics are, oh, it's the practice lane, lane 24. They want to get a full rack of pins on the practice lane.
Well, you've already explained how the players choose the lane. What about the possibility of switching lanes?
Well, what happens there, it is a possibility. You know, if they want to make sure that one man finishes the game as opposed to the other, they may switch lanes. But for the most part, they're going to stick with the lane they practice on. As I said earlier, 15 minutes of practice on one lane, about 45 on the other. So they're just trying to get themselves locked in on one lane. Doubtful they'll switch, but it's always a possibility.
Well, we talk about the PBA Winter Tour of 2001 kicking off here. 8 straight weeks on ESPN. One major championship, the inaugural Silicon Valley, coming up next week just outside San Francisco, then in Las Vegas, and then Toledo, Ohio for the PBA National Championship. Get in.
Will the 10-pin fall? No. And it looks like he did foul. They're going to the foul judge. The light went off. The foul judge nods his head. He did in fact foul. What happens there, Kel, is that ball, the ball is meaningless. He gets nothing for that. Watch his foot. He slides over the line. He'll have a chance now to make the spare.
Question, is that nerves, or is that after the little bit of a delay, just a little lapse in concentration?
I think it could be a lapse in concentration. They come close to the line. He looked down again, and he just gets 9, comes through the heart. A very, very tough way to finish, and certainly, if anything can shake your confidence, boy, that's it right there. See, he looks straight down. That's his way of saying, what's happening with my slide?
I think he instinctively knew he was already over, just from his reaction. Yajima.
That leaves just the 9-pin. Kind of a quizzical look on his face as to, well, gosh, what happened with that? It felt pretty good off my hand. You have to remember, the lanes will change. As the bowlers are throwing the balls down the lane, the oil is going from the front end to the back end. So there's a transition that's happening. Bowlers have to be aware of that and keep adjusting left on the lane.
Converts the 9. So the first open for Winger and Voss. Won his first PBA Tour title last year at the ABC Masters in Albuquerque.
Good release. Bad reaction. 7-pin doesn't fall. Take a look at a very strange reaction of the pins. Good projection down the lane. The ball gets about to the 7 board, makes the kick in. 6-pin will take care of the 10. Pins flying all around the 7-pin. Shakes it, but it doesn't fall.
And an easy one. You saw Mika look up because the same replay that we're showing you at home on ESPN, the players see here at the National Bowling Stadium, so you get a chance to check your form as the match is unfolding.
Yeah, and he wanted to see why that unusual carry of the pins didn't fall.
Brian Voss out of Atlanta. That's why he's in the PBA Hall of Fame, inducted back in '94.
A lot of added pressure in a doubles situation because you don't want to let your partner down. Winger right now really wants a little redemption on lane 25. Can cut that lead to an even match with a strike here in the third frame.
You saw the camaraderie after Brian made the strike and the high five. And we talked to him yesterday about this unique format in the competition. He said, hey, you get a chance to make a brand new friend that you never really knew that well before.
Yeah, we don't see the senior players, but just a couple of times a year, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of the guys that are bowling on the senior tour did bowl on the national tour, and Brian had bowled with them, but Ron Winger did not bowl too much on the national tour.
Junichi. Starting to find that groove, isn't he?
Smooth delivery from Yajima. Doesn't put a lot of energy into the ball. Oh, 10 pin does not fall. Koivu Niemi makes a great shot here on lane 25. Ball's going to break in very sharply the last 10 feet. Watch the head pin from the sideboard flying in back of the 10 pin. At this point right now, he thinks he's got the messenger strike. Not to be.
Well, if it's National Bowling Morning here, we've got National Hockey Night tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. Well, those Blackhawks, 2 games below 500. You'll hear the Oregon at the old stadium there. The Hawks facing the Avalanche. Colorado 28 up and only 8 down. The Avs with 4 starters in next month's NHL All-Star Game, 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight on ESPN2.
Solid 10 for Voss. And to be just a little bit disappointed. Put the ball right where he wanted to. Kel just did not get the 6 pin to hit the 10. 6 pin goes around the bottom of the 10 pin on a solid 10 hit like that.
Brian also had a 300 game here this week in earlier action in this Reno National Senior Doubles Championship. If he misses that, he probably gets on a plane and heads for Atlanta.
He doesn't miss too many 10 pins. Winger also using the particle ball with the high load particle ball, 4.5 inches from the pin, an extra hole on the axis.
There you go.
Boy, and after that start with the foul, I'm going to take my hat off to Winger. I didn't think he'd come back with 2 quality shots after being shaken with that foul, but he certainly has. Winger doesn't throw a lot of hook. Ball breaking in about the last 15 feet. Splatters of pins around, and you know that Voss has got to love this. All right, partner, that's the way to hold me up.
His kids, Joshua and Cameron, watching back there in Atlanta. Yajima now.
Crossing over. And fortunate, more than just fortunate, little serendipity for Yajima. He knocks the 6 pin out on the crossover strike. Did not make an aggressive shot. The ball's hooking early on him. He's hoping right now it'll hook over. The 6 pin's going to trip out very, very late. For a double. And he leaves a solid 10. You know, that's the luck in bowling, Jim. Crossover strike. Come right back with a beautiful pocket hit like Mika had right there and does not strike. So Yajima disappointed. Hard and straight for the 10 pin to keep the 1 pin lead. He's got it.
Mika's won titles in 10 different countries, including his homeland of Finland, and he's bowled 300 games in 5 different countries. We'll come back to Reno. Voss and Winger down by just a single pin as we start the 6th.
If they're working on a strike, they can take the lead here in the 6th frame. Well, if you want to learn how to bowl, take a shot at Brian Voss and just try and imitate it. Great balance. Solid 9. Oh, the last 2 shots. Solid 10 and a solid 9. Ball hooking in front of the 9 pin. This shot has become more and more prevalent on the tour. You'll watch the ball hook in. It's just going to go right past the 9 pin. The balls are more powerful than the pins. Does he like this? I don't think so. Quality shots from Voss in the last 2 frames, but only 9 spare to get from both of them.
Man that loves horse racing. There's a place about a block away you better stay out of, right?
That's right. He can play the horses and have a meal at the same time. Players are hitting the pocket nicely, but carry becoming more and more difficult, a product of the oil going down the lane. Changes the entry angle.
Kind of a different follow-through for Ron Winger, isn't there?
Yeah, well, it is. He, as I said earlier, he kind of short strokes it, but it's something that's worked for him ever since he was a kid. Changes balls. And it's a good thing he did. They change balls for the spares because they don't want a lot of friction. They don't want the high energy ball to hook away from the spares. All you have to do is just be accurate.
Up by 2, Yajima now. Ask him yesterday what it would mean to win this championship, and what a grin crossed his face. I mean, it would be huge for this man.
Yeah, 41-time champion in Japan, but this would be the pinnacle of his career. And with shots like that, Koivu Niemi and Yajima could advance, still only up by 2 pins. This ball's going to find the pocket flush. All 10 reacting at the same time. Bowlers like that flush hit.
Mika K.
Solid 10 the previous frame.
3 spares in his previous tries.
There's
and
the shot.
The big one.
Excuse me, Kel, that's what he's looking for, and he used a little more loft. That's how he projects the ball down the lane. Out. Look as he looks out onto the lane, throws it out there about 5 to 6 feet. Ball goes further to the right, hooks back hard. And the reaction of a man who knows he's giving his team the opportunity to advance.
Partner.
That'll help make up that 12-pin deficit. Hey, the PBA website is your best source for all the latest information on the PBA Tour. Right now, you can log on to the website's news section, cast your vote for one of 7 players to participate in the Battle at Little Creek, which you'll see on ESPN, the final event of the Winter Tour. Make your vote count, PBAtour.com.
Winger's last frame, maximum score 227. Something distracted him. Now, I would, if it were I would put the ball down, start my pre-shot routine all over again. Winger chose to hang on to the ball.
There's one of the unique aspects of the team competition. You saw Brian Voss there, bottom left-hand side of the screen, trying to get the distraction to stand still. You don't get that if you're just single competition.
Now trying to protect his partner, and his partner trying to get away with a crossover strike, and that distraction definitely got into his concentration, made a very poor shot, ball well left off his hand. Really had very little chance. He leaves the 6 pin, and now for Voss and Winger, the best they can do is 207.
And of course, Marshall, one of the unique aspects of this competition is you get an extra pair of eyes.
Yeah, you're bowling with the coach right behind you. So, you know, in between frames, the two partners are talking things over, trying to figure out strategy of how to make the ball roll down the lane properly.
Max score 239, up by 12.
He likes it. Shakes them down. That lead now 22 pins. Voss winger 207, the best they can do. Right now, Mika and Junichi working at a 219 pace. Any kind of a mark in the 10th frame, and they're your winners. Yeah, not a very good shot, but you see the wry smile. Mika's face is, okay, well, that wasn't very good, but I think I can make the 5-pin.
Member of Team Finland International Bowling between '88 and 2000. What a run he's had, and one of his goals to be the best bowler in the world. I mentioned he's won in 10 different countries.
And they will win. That gives them 208 if Mika doesn't even throw this last shot.
It's funny when you watch him and you watch his reaction. He doesn't seem to have the temperament to be a hockey goalie, right? I mean, you're going to see Petraglia tonight on ESPN2. I mean, Patrick would be there slashing and kicking you out of there with the stick.
Yeah, but hiding behind that mask, he looks pretty scary. That's the shot he's looking for right there.
Mika K. Yajima, they've won their first 2 matches here in Reno. We're at the National Bowling Stadium. It's the Reno National Senior Doubles. We kick off the PBA Winter Tour for 2001 live on ESPN. And it'll be Robert Smith and Bob Glass, so stick around. Back at the National Bowling Stadium here in Reno, Nevada. Up next, it's Robert Smith, the Simi Valley, California native, and the man from Lawrence, Kansas, Bob Glass.
And the power has just entered the building. Glass and Smith rev it up as hard as any 2 players.
Oh, I think we'll see some excitement when Parker Bohn III gets it.
Yes, we will.
And a strike for the man that started bowling back in Finland at 11 years young. Proud daddy of 2 daughters. Bride Lena back home.
Coming in light, leaving the 10-pin. Glass is using a ball with a 4-inch pin, the CG on the axis. Got a big extra hole in it. And he'll switch to his spare ball. This is a ball that will go just very, very straight. It's got a slide.
In the Kansas Bowling Hall of Fame.
Once again, showing the importance of switching to a harder ball, creating less friction, more margin for error. And believe me, the big guy needed every bit of margin for error. Now, Robert Smith on lane 25, the powerful release, fast throwing right-hander.
In a phrase, how would you describe his form?
Well, his form is powerful. He leaves the 4 and the 8-pin, high backswing. He's got that hand cupped and just unleashes at the bottom of the swing. He tells me that he just likes to point his thumb toward his target. That's how that's what he perceives when he throws the ball. And he can get the ball down there as fast as anybody.
Where does he get, as we watch the release here, where does he generate all that power?
Well, the power, it comes from a very strong upper body and very, very solid leg work as well. And the flexibility to have such a long backswing. Now back to the stroker, Yajima. He's got to stop. Trips out the 4-pin.
He's like a golfer in the groove right now. I mean, that's one of his hobbies, but after that slow start, he has found himself.
Well, you know, in the first game, they started out open, and now they find themselves in the 3rd match, up by 12 pins early, looking to take it to 22. looks as if they're becoming more and more comfortable on the television pair. I really thought it'd be very difficult for anybody to make it all the way through these great players. Koivu Niemi bringing it back, flushing the pocket.
Glass now, they are down by 22.
Got to hurry. Slipped
Ouch.
right off his hand. The washout, the 1, 2, 4, and 10. Very makeable. Get the ball left of the head pin. Hit the left side of the head pin. Knock it into the 10. Yeah, pulled it. Leaves the 1 and the 10 pin, and falling further and further behind after 3 frames. Already 38 pins down. Head-on look of Glass, shooting for the spare. He knows right now he's pulled it, just gets 8.
'26th in the PBA World Power Rankings. And a past runner-up for Rookie of the Year with a strike there.
Yeah, got to start somewhere. He gets 1 strike on the left-hand lane. Glass will have to figure out lane 26. Ball starting out around the 13th board, going out all the way to 3, and then banking back in hard with that great wrist lift. That's a little more like it. Speed control, very important for Robert Smith. Got a little fast in the first frame. The ball didn't make the hill.
What about speed control for Yajima?
Well, it's certainly critical for all players. Yajima coming in light, leaving the 2 and the 4. Got around that ball a little bit. He wants to have his hand coming out straight from the bottom of the ball, right behind it. That one he got around it. The ball spun down the lane instead of rolling down the lane. Didn't pick up the mid lane and comes in light. Leaves a relatively easy spare. And I don't think this man has missed a spare in years.
Tied for 25th last week at the ABC Senior Masters. Looking for what a start this would be for 2001, and what an impressive title if Yajima and Mika K were to win.
That'd be a dream come true.
We kidded them both yesterday. If they were to win, would they just pop up on billboards all over Finland and Japan? And they thought maybe that would happen.
Yeah, Mika doing the advertisements in Japan and Yajima in Finland. Look at that high backswing. He's got that ball almost completely over his head. Great loft out in the lane. Chance for the double for Glass and Smith. And a solid 9. Made the great adjustment. Better projection down the lane. Ball did not float as far to the right. But we'll take another look at it. Watches the ball, just drives right past the 9 pin. I've said it before, but the ball, much stronger than the pins in many cases.
Bob hurt his back in '97. Missed most of the year, but a good recovery. Lost out the national senior doubles a year ago by 1 pin. And it was that pesky 10 pin.
It was a 10 pin that Robert Smith left the last shot to lose 234 to 233 to Pete Couture and David Husted.
Thank you very much. Glass and Smith, very impressive. But Mika K and Yajima have come back before. We're live in Reno. Don't touch the clicker. Junichi Yajima from Japan. He made a strike in the 6th. Mika with strikes in 5 and 7 as we welcome you back live. And now the man with that PhD in economics just retired from doing research out at the U of K, didn't he?
He did. He's a smart man, and he knows right now that he needs to start striking to have any chance. Right now, Glass and Smith are being overwhelmed by Mika K and Yajima. 56 pin deficit.
Marshall, is it unusual in this format to see one team just plow through the competition?
Well, I really thought it would be very difficult today. I did not see anybody getting through the first 3 matches and then getting to the Bohn match. I just thought that Smith and Glass would be too tough a competition, but they're struggling. Mika K and Yajima taking advantage. Certainly look like they're going to waltz right into that title match.
You saw that graphic on Robert Smith, won his first PBA title last July at the U.S. Open, defeating the Player of the Year, Norm Duke, by a single pin.
Watch the 6 pin, second from your right. It's going to whip right around the bottom of the 10. Solid 10, and not much you can do from here. They know third place is going to be their fate. Last night in the position round game, this man's partner, Bob Glass, shot a 300 to vault them into that second seeded position. What could have been?
Yajima with a strike back in the 6th and 1 in the 2nd. And 1 in the 8th.
That's Yajima's 10th strike of the day. His partner Mika has had 9 strikes. They're certainly locked in right now. There's one coming right at you from the channel cam. Beauty.
Well, the ESPN Sports Zone in Manhattan will be filled with Giant fans a little bit later on, but you talk about the zone, Mika and Yajima are definitely in it, eh?
Oh, they are right now. Trying to keep their momentum, getting ready for that last match, and
whoa, my!
Everything going their way right now.
Let's see what he does with the towel, because he's very superstitious. I mean, he puts the towel the same way all the time when he bowls. And when things are going well, even from the opposite side. Watch the action here. Bing, bing. Up by 77.
The game can be a lot of fun when things like that happen. 2, 4, 5, 8 bucket for Glass.
Their bucket is empty.
It just continues to be a struggle. Look at the dominance from Yajima and Koivu Niemi. Picks up the spare, but they know they've had a great week. Just not what they wanted. After last year's heartbreaker, this year they get trounced.
Ron Morton, Parker Bohn III on deck for Mika K and Yajima. First team All-America at San Diego State. U.S. amateur champion the following year, leaves the 10 pin. This is like you on the golf course trying to make a putt.
Yeah, but it's not falling. Thanks. Now, right now, Robert Smith just trying to get out of the way. He knows that it's third place. Solid week.
Bob is also a golfer, and a lot of the fellas here in Reno will tune in tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Final round coverage of the Mercedes Championship. Rory Sabatini a 2-shot lead over the reigning Masters champion Vijay Singh. Final round action, the Plantation Course out at beautiful Kapalua. The wind's pretty benign yesterday, as benign as Andy North can recall, and he's been going over there about 20 years. There's the leaderboard. Final round action, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 8 o'clock Eastern time. The PGA Tour, the Mercedes Championship.
Yeah, and missing from that leaderboard, Tiger Woods, 8 under par, 8 back, maybe, well, a little too far back to make that charge, I think.
Well, there's one green out there that you're putting. It's a dogleg left. Yajima. He's been in fuego, and he finishes up in championship style. What a match. Mika K, they've got one more. Can they finish up with a triple? We'll come back live and find out as our action continues from Reno.
really tell if you've pulled it or if you haven't released it properly. So they'll just give little pointers like, you know, make sure you stay with that shot. Make sure the knee bend is right. Small little tips, not too technical. But for Bohn and Morton, they're going to have to get out of the gate fast. All the momentum right now, Mika K and Junichi Yajima.
Got it over on the high side, the 33-year-old native from Finland.
The tall Finnish player. Watch how high the backswing is. A lot of loft, not a lot of knee bend for a tall man. He came in high, left the 3-pin. Shouldn't be too much trouble making this an easy spare. And he converts.
Ron Morton, 50 years of age, out of Vancouver, Washington, right-handed bowler.
A very well-practiced player.
Bowled in 4 senior events last year, making his rookie debut out on the senior tour. Finished second at the Brunswick Senior National Championship, his 3rd event.
And we'll have it coming right at us from Channel Cam. Throws the ball a lot slower than the other players. Finishes very flush in the pocket. He's got to make his partner feel good. Our first look at the great Parker Bohn III. Solid 7-pin.
Whose book, by the way, is on sale here at the National Bowling Stadium for $29.95 in the gift shop if you haven't done all your shopping.
Here's the ball coming into the pocket. There's that pesky 4-pin going around the 7. He thinks he's got a strike right here. And for the lefties watching, and even the right-handers out there, boy, if you can have a style like Parker Bohn III, you're going to have a lot of fun knocking down lots of strikes.
A lot of pressure on this man, and he talked about it yesterday back in Japan for him to do well.
Oh, well, it would mean so much for him to go back to Japan as a PBA champion.
One of the things he talked about, it would get him into the press guide, right? Into the yearbook.
That's right. He wants his picture in next year's press guide for the PBA Tour. That's something that would mean very much to him. And
Mika's is in.
Mika's already there,
right.
So now it's Junichi's turn. Nope.
Been on the high side twice now.
Needs to move further left or project the ball further right. What the players are looking for is a spot down the lane, about 30 feet to get the ball to. You'll see the release of Mika. It just never was far enough to the right, and he's shaking his head. He knows it.
Left the 3-pin, but converted in the 1st. Left the 6-pin, converts in the 3rd.
And left the door open for Bohn and Morton.
Don't want to do that too often with Parker.
No.
You talk about the slower speed that we see with the Ron Morton.
Well, he has to throw it slow in order to make the ball hook back into the pocket. He doesn't have what I call a big hand, and he doesn't have a Robert Smith type of release where he gets a lot of energy on the ball. So he has to use his speed to complement the roll on the ball, and he does it very, very well. Look at the way he posts that finish. Parker Bohn now up on the left-hand lane, looking to make virtually the same shot he made the last time, except carry out that 7-pin. Oh, comes in light and shakes him around.
That'll make his fan club happy. They call themselves the Bone Zone. Got his own website.
Great knee bend. Ball really going far to the left. It hits the 1 board. It comes back, takes care of all the action, and you think he likes that one, Kel?
Yajima snuck a little look in there too. Junichi did. Yes, sir.
All right, now it's all on Mika. Junichi has thrown strikes in the second and the fourth, and Mika has not made a good shot in this game to this point. Came in high, left the 3-pin. Came in high, left the 6-pin. Must trust his shot to throw it to the right.
Down by 10.
Boy, and really having problems with his form. Never getting the ball far enough to the right on any one of those shots. And his partner can't do any more than he's doing. He's giving him the opportunity to make the doubles. Mika not stepping through the door.
Well, he's been on the high side with all 3 rolls.
He's afraid to let the ball go to the right for fear it won't come back, so he's pinching each shot. Makes a spare.
Makes it butt. His partner struck just before. The Reno National Doubles Championship, sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, providing championship services and programs since 1895. Make sure your league is ABC sanctioned.
Mine is.
I would expect.
Well, to take the lead to 20, Ron Morton. Stop.
Took a page from the Mika playbook.
Yeah, ball hooking high. Did not get the projection down the lane. That's the problem with the slow speed. If you get a little bit short, if you don't get the ball down the lane far enough, it'll hook immediately. Going with the harder ball and having a lot of problems with the approach just does make that 6-pin. 6-pin should be a relatively easy spare, and there's a big smile. He should feel good about that. He got a break.
Nine consecutive years, this man has earned over $100,000.
And you can just book it. He'll do it again this year. He's that good. He's a bowling machine. Oh, solid 8. Yeah, he's made 3 shots right now, and the best 2 didn't strike. The ball will hook past the 8-pin. It's flush in the pocket, but it's just too much ball. Can't believe it. Not me.
Book it. We'll come back with a championship match at the Reno National Senior Doubles here at the National Bowling Stadium in Reno. Back live with our championship match, and Ron Morton and Parker Bohn III trying to stop the momentum. They are up by 8. Mika K and Yajima have been on a roll since the very first match. Junichi has struck twice before in 2 and 4.
And made a quality shot. The 7-pin does not fall. If that ball would have been just a little bit lighter in the pocket or a little bit higher, it probably strikes, but 5-pin was diverted. Didn't get into the 7.
And you saw that heavy sigh by Mika. They're digging themselves a big hole.
Yeah, they're 9 pins down right now. There's still plenty of time, and it's not that big of a deficit. But if Koivu Niemi cannot put the ball in the pocket on lane 25, it's going to be a very difficult task to overtake Morton and Bohn. He must make a better shot. Well, he does, unless he leaves the 10-pin. But at least he's back in the groove of making a good delivery.
Starting to feel the pressure. I mean, a little extra breathing, a little heavier breathing, a little more concentration, a little slower pace.
Now getting closer and closer to the possibility of the win. Good conversion.
Well, the LPGA Tour closes out its first event of the year this afternoon on ESPN, 5 o'clock Eastern Time from Palm Beach, Florida, in the Your Life Vitamins Classic. Final round, Karen Koch, a one-shot lead over Laura Davies. Didn't pick up a club, Laura didn't, for a couple of weeks during the offseason. Played soccer with some friends. 4 other players just 2 shots behind. Tune in this afternoon, final round coverage live.
Hurry up.
Whoa!
Boy, that ball really came back from nowhere. I didn't think that was going to make the hill. And Parker, just as soon as that ball hit, Parker was out of his chair. He says, get me up there. He can't wait to bowl.
You get the feeling if he ran track, he'd insist on being the anchor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he likes the heat. He wants it to be on his shoulders, and he can handle it.
Be there, Parker.
Oh, yeah. Parker Bohn doing what he does best.
What's the key to his game?
Well, there are many keys to Parker's game. He's got a wonderful backswing, very, very straight, fluid backswing. Super knee bend. Look at that classic form as the finish. And he loves this game. He has a passion for bowling that I haven't seen from anybody else on tour. Solid 10. Yajima doing everything in his power, making nothing but quality shots the entire match.
Talk about a passion for the game. This man has it back in Japan as well. I mentioned he coaches with the children, also works at home with the adults. 7-time Japan PBA Player of the Year.
41 titles. He's the Earl Anthony of Japan. Makes the spare.
It's really the first time that these guys, Mika and Yajima, have had any pressure on them, right?
Yeah, they're down by 21 pins right now. The best that they can shoot would be 217 if they strike out. Right now, Bohn and Morton, they're working at a 218 pace. Important to put pressure on Morton. Well, he's come back.
After his first 3 first balls were all on the high side.
Yeah, last two have been just right. Look as the ball, he gets the ball farther to the right. He must get the ball out to the right so he can hook it back into the pocket. 6-pin's going to snap out that 10.
This man has made 3 strikes and 1 spare. Max score 348.
Oh my gosh, look how far to the right, and it does come back.
You kidding me? That ball was halfway to Tahoe.
I thought that ball was gone. I mean, he's a quarter of an inch from getting none right there. But it comes back. And that very well is the shot that's going to win the tournament for him. You think Parker doesn't love that one?
Did you hear that groan from the audience here? They all saw it on the Jumbotron up overhead.
Any kind of a mark for the championship. He got slow, but it's there. They're the winners. And deservedly so, Cal. They really dominated the tournament over the last day and a half.
And it's his first win without his mustache.
That's right. My first telecast without a mustache, his first win without a mustache. It's a trend. He could win regardless of what he does. He's just that solid.
What a great showing by 2 terrific guys. Yajima out of Japan, Mika K from Finland. And a lot of very good experience for the international team, if you will, huh?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. But the team that dominated the week dominated the day. That's Parker Bohn and Ron Morton.
Well, we mentioned that man is a model of consistency with 9 straight years of over $100,000 in earnings. Kind of a poster boy for the PBA as the Winter Tour kicks off live in Reno.